Constantine and Gladys is also on there.
And then I've got Mark Hotto. Say it again, Mark.
I said I see Gladys on the internet here, so she's streaming in. Yes.
She's actually here.
Oh, is she? Great, great.
She's taking a seat.
Much better. I'm glad she's there.
Maybe when I log off.
Am I on?
That sounds like
You're on.
Oh, that's my office.
It's somebody using your ID, yes.
It's my office, probably.
It's her AI listening in for.
So I'm gonna give my disclaimer again. If anybody has babies while they're here, we take no responsibility for it.
Alex, other dangerous.
Well, Katya, you let off the panel discussions, and now you're ending with the panel discussions here. You did a great job moderating yesterday. I tuned in for the alpha segment that you had done, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. Great conversation. So, like to make this one just as energetic on the way out, and leave everybody, looking forward to the next Ivy Fund, a program that comes up in the near future. And I'm more sure Marty has on several occasions told you when that is, but I believe it's San Francisco in January. Is that correct, Marty?
Yes, correct.
There we go. All right. Well, we're talking right now for the next hour or so on artificial intelligence. I'm sure it's a topic Marty's not been covered over the last 2 days. Family offices are really facing a defining moment with AI investing, record capital flows, elevated risks, outsized opportunities. 78% of global family offices plan AI allocations over the next 2 years. This panel will help educate them, provide them with insights and thoughts as to where the market is headed and where they should be placing their bets. None of us are providing legal advice here. None of us are providing financial advice. None of us are providing accounting or any other type of advice. This is just educational information for users' benefit here, for those in the audience listening. So with that disclaimer out of the way, I like to do that early. I want to just quickly introduce our panel, and we have Enrique Martinez. He's on my left. I don't know. He's probably on your right. Sitting next to him is Katja Fisher. And then we have Gladys Margarita Diaz. How do you say your last one?
Jourdain.
Okay, well, it's nice and simple. I didn't know if it had a soft H or a J there. So
I'm Latin. I have a million names. Part of me.
And online here we have Constantine Formica. I probably said that wrong. So Constantine, why don't you correct me? Formica.
Yeah, good enough, close enough from our Mark. Thank you.
Yeah. So just very quickly, last month I moderated a panel on AI. Constantine was on there with me, so it was great to see him on here today. We'll pick up where we left off, but in many ways, we just can't pick up where we left off because the panel is very different. Today we have we have four people who have developed applications within the AI spectrum that they are trying to bring to market or already in market with. So be a very interesting discussion with them about what their applications are and how it will be used and how it stands out from the rest of the field there. My name is Mark Isle. I'm managing director with Pickwick Capital. I've been involved in alternatives since the mid-90s. It's been very interesting. The Pickwick is a boutique investment banking firm, capital raising firm, helping companies and funds in the marketplace. We have certain sectors that we like to deal in, including security, defense, space, energy, sustainability, mining, rare earths, real estate, so on down the line. I heard enough from me. Let's get into our panels and have them introduce themselves. Enrique, I'm going to start with you.
No, I can't. Go ahead. Women first. Go.
Women first. Come on,
Just
Katja.
fine. I don't know what you got killed.
He's scared of me. I know Henry King for many, many years. So I'm not gonna kill him. My name is Katja Fisher. Some of you were here yesterday, so you might have learned a little bit about me, but I'll say it again. So I have two roles. I serve as the Vice Chairman and General Counsel of Constructure Group. We're a holding company. We have a group of companies worldwide. Run by a family office. I oversee legal for the entire group of companies. I have about 7 people in my legal practice who work with me worldwide. I'm responsible for all the external legal spend. We have a university in Germany. We have a venture fund. We have several software companies, family office, airplane, yacht, vineyard, you name it. Because of my background, prior to that, I was a partner in a major law firm. I was also the chief privacy officer of that law firm. I've had the experience of being a solo lawyer, business for myself, being a partner in a major law firm, being in-house, overseeing the sort of, wide plethora of things. Because of the fact that I'm very, very heavily involved in tech and I'm adjacent, I work with technologists, I started to really think about how technology can help the things that I do. And I started to look at the inefficiencies. And so one of the things that really frustrated me the most was that every single time we were doing due diligence on acquisitions, like when we acquired the university in Germany, et cetera, we would get these massive invoices from external legal. And I would look at them and I would think I'm paying like $500,000 for a bunch of junior associates to look at pieces of paper and tell me what they say. Like, at the end of the day, I'm the one who's making the decisions. I'm the one who's looking at everything, or it's my colleagues or the business people who are really making those determinations. And I started looking at those inefficiencies and thinking about the fact that, now in a way like never before, because of large language models, because of artificial intelligence, there's actually really a way to go ahead and accelerate that and create efficiencies in the market. So I founded a company called Aricor. My principal in the family office that I represent became my business partner, along with the former co-chairman of Wilkie Fry and Gallagher. We founded Aricor as a legal tech company, but not a generic one. There's a lot in the market. You might be familiar with some of them. It's a very, very heavily saturated market. We don't focus on law firms. We don't focus on sort of being, the one-stop shop for lawyers or anything like that. We're not even really focused on drafting. We're focused exclusively on deal making. We focus exclusively on due diligence, the due diligence process, how to make sure that you can have the business person inside, let's say, a PE fund or a VC fund who's making those decisions, who's negotiating the term sheet, get all of the information and access he needs without having to go back and forth with outside counsel, with in-house counsel, and having to do that manual triage where they have to double check everything themselves anyway. So basically, my work as an attorney then informs my work as a CEO and vice versa. I use my legal team as a guinea pig. I use my companies as a guinea pig to sort of do all of the beta testing and work things out. And I'm having baby number 2. So that's it.
But not right now.
Pass it along.
But not right now.
Yeah, not today. Hi, hello. Okay, so I'm Gladys Margarita Diaz, and I am actually an anomaly in this room.
Your mic's on.
So I was inspired by you. Thank you. So I'm an anomaly in this room. I'm actually an architect. I went to college for architecture and urban design. And when I graduated, I realized I didn't know anything about finance or business or law. And I went to New York City and I pointed at Wall Street and I said, those people print money, I'm going to go work there. And my goal was to learn capital markets and how money moves and how buildings get built and how they get financed. And so I had a stint at a public agency that controls all the transportation in the New York region called the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. I worked in their finance department. I went to night school at NYU, and I wanted to see how does this apply to building cities. And then I became part of a company that bought buildings in New York City that syndicated them as partnerships, as tax shelters. So I became a licensed securities broker to be able to talk to the customers that were investing in our limited partnerships. These were the days of accelerated depreciation where 4-to-1 write-offs were very, very available. In 1986, when the tax code revision killed the industry, and this is why following regulatory movements is so crucial to every industry, we basically went out of business. So I was unemployed. I was in New York City, And I was trying to figure out where I was gonna go. So I wound up on the Latin America desk at Bear Stearns. I got hired for 3 reasons. 1, I spoke Spanish. I was completely bilingual. 2, I had an Ivy League education. And 3, I knew that I could figure it out. And they knew I could figure it out. So all of these things I had a license, a securities license. This was like going to the University of Life, working on the equities trading floor. And I dealt with Latin America, with emerging markets, with international clients, et cetera, et cetera. All of this comes to being in Miami and going back into what I really loved, which is real estate, buildings and cities. And I've been doing that for over 25 years here in South Florida. And about 2017, when Disney announced that they were going to use face recognition technology to map all of their customer arrivals and how they could identify you, I started thinking, what if we could use that technology for real estate and for properties, and we could identify a property visually. Now, if anybody here, how many people have bought a house? Okay. You know that the process is extremely onerous. It's very paper intensive. It's not as complex as a merger and acquisition deal, but it does have a lot of due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. There's many entities that are in that space. What we found, and what I approached my partner who went to school with me, he's actually owned a company, he sold it, and now he invested in this company. The idea was to create a series of tools for the home buyer and for the real estate professional that's working with that home buyer. So that the idea is to use AI for the workflow, apply it to the industry, and make the world a better place, make the industry more efficient, make the professionals that are in the industry more professional, because that's one of the challenges in real estate, finding the right realtor to represent you. But everybody wants a roof over their head, and everybody has a visual picture of what they would like to have, which is called educated by HGTV, and what they're dreaming of. And so there's a lot of data out there also in the industry, in real estate. So anyway, that's my thing. So I've been working on. Question and answer period.
Fantastic.
Thank
John?
you. Good morning. Actually, good afternoon, right? Back already. My name is Enrique Martinez. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a research-based agentic M&A platform for the pharma industry. Right now, we're focused on oncology, and then we're progressing to rare diseases, weight diseases or weight loss. I come from a completely different background. First, I was the lead aerospace and then lead AI engineer and major in the U.S. Army. I was tasked in 2004 and 3 to develop the first generation of drones, unmanned vehicles, jets, and then in 2005, because of the work that we're doing, then small group of us were tasked to develop the first AI drone. So I've known about AI for quite some time. So I've been in this industry for about 20 years. I've seen the evolution of all this time. About 7 months ago, then I was speaking at a panel about crypto and AI to detect fraud, actually. And a gentleman that was in my panel reached out to me and said, hey, I have this idea. I would like to then work with you on this. He happens to be my co-founder over here, probably the biggest guy in the room in the back with a background in professional football. But I didn't have any idea when it comes to farm, except that I knew that if there's good data outside over there, then we can probably figure out something. And so for about a month and a half, started working on potentially if this is something that we can predict M&As. Some of you are in the room knows, and in online, there are roughly around 8,000 pharmaceutical companies, roughly around 8,000 companies that are biotech. Total, let's say 13,000 only in the US. Per year, around 200 of those go through M&As. So that's roughly about 1.5% of companies are going to go through an M&A next year. Trying to get your banker, advisor, whoever, right, to be able to predict correctly one of those 200 then become quite difficult. Except that we know now that roughly in the next 5 years, around $250 billion are going to be lost due to patent expirations. So when we started this project, I started gathering all this data from patents, news, governments, what government officials were doing as well, social media, and all these different sources to then be able to start understanding if there's any way to start getting some predictions. We then finalized the program about a week and a half ago, turned on the predictions, and lo and behold, now we're getting 10 to 20 predictions per week. Obviously, now some of those predictions are similar, but the idea is that now we can do three things very good. One, we can detect which companies are going to most likely go through a M&A next year, 3, 6, 9 months before an announcement. Two, then we can detect when potentially that M&A is going to happen. And three, then we can analyze what are some of the risks involved with that specific deal and understand the full complexity of that deal. Give a report, 20, 50-page report, and within 20 minutes, we have reduced between 3 to 4 months of 5 research and analysis into just quick 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. That then, that potential decision maker can then go and say, okay, this is a company I would like to invest, or I would like to knock on the door of either the target company or potential acquires company, which we can also provide in our platform.
Fantastic. We're going to have to talk, make my job a lot easier. Constantine, why don't you take a few minutes and introduce yourself and tell us about TenViz?
Thank you. Good to hear everyone. So the idea is actually I was on the buy side for 15 years here in New York City on Wall Street. And basically, we decided to build AI, predictive AI, which is different from the conventional LLMs models, generative AI. And we started 10 years ago. We have about, so I work for some large organizations like JP Morgan, Citigroup, Omega Advisors, and so on. And we're combining fundamental expertise with a quantitative prowess. And our goal is to forecast something in financial markets that is not obvious. So that's we pride ourselves in ability to look around the corner. And if you would be interested, if we'll have time, I can give you a couple of colorful examples.
I was going to ask you to do that. Why don't you do that right now? Give us 1 or 2.
All right, I'll do it right now because I think the previous panel was talking about the cryptos and people were speculating why the Bitcoin has collapsed. And so did Ethereum. And we had a sell on both of them, Ethereum. And as you can see that with the chart of Bitcoin, I'm deliberately making it 6 months. And we had a sell close to that inflection point because our tools detected outflows into healthcare in value indices, including biotech. And it's obviously, now with the benefit of hindsight, since September, healthcare and value started to outperform. So that was one of the reasons we see those rotations and we warn clients before they happen. Again, so you see those outflows into biotech. So biotech, people would de-risking out of Bitcoin. And you see that biotech is coming up is a completely opposite. And if you flip them, they start to move, the explanatory power comes by. So
that's an association made by your AI, right? That pulled those factors together and led you to that conclusion.
Correct.
That an analyst would have had very difficult time doing, right?
In fact, most of the analysts like it because they are siloed by specific asset classes. Like how many people in this room would see that Bitcoin is actually managed related to healthcare? Not too many, right? And neither would I, but our AI picks up on that.
So what's the second one you want to highlight for us?
Well, the second I would highlight actually, in general, in the spirit of the AI discussion, we see some early signs of conventional AI being slightly tired. So we already have signals on we are trimming some exposure to big tech technology, i.e., I think hyperscalers are getting a little bit exhausted. So we have a sell on technology as a broad, and we see outflows into, again, more defensive sectors. Again, it's not happening only as a function of valuations, but it's also, there are many reasons to even challenge conventional approaches, at least valuations of conventional generative AI or LLM models. And if you'll have time, I can talk about alternative approaches and alternative hardware that is emerging to challenge that overinvestment by hyperscalers. Again, we are not against AI. Of course, we're doing that and I fully embrace what my esteemed panel colleague, fellow comrades are doing. And we're doing the same in different fields. But I think the expectations build that NVIDIA will cannibalize the world, and OpenAI will lead the innovation for the rest of our lives is unfair. We don't think that will happen.
Great. No, that's a great intro and a great way to introduce your company here. So I want to get this started, and I want to, each one of you are developing an AI application or dealing in specific verticals. Tell me where you are in the development of your business and what the key milestones you hope to achieve in 2025. And I don't know who wants to go first, but I'm flexible on this. Katja, would you like to take the lead?
Sure. So basically what we're doing right now in our product is we've been working on our MVP. We have a small group of funds, companies that are working with us that are actually testing everything. The big thing that's really happened in the last 3 years is obviously that the market has moved at lightning speed. And so, when we first started looking at these things, like when ChatGPT came out, you couldn't even upload a document. So I don't know if any of you remember, but there were companies coming out like ChatPDF that had 5 million ARR in the first year, and the only thing they did was just let you upload a document and for ChatGPT to review it, right? And now all of a sudden, of course, it's transformed tremendously. And if you take a look at these other LLMs, like Claude is doing all this stuff in finance and blah, 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 blah. So you really have to kind of think about where the market is going. What is the trajectory? What are the things that they're going to be able to do that's going to bulldoze over a lot of the SaaS companies that are built on top of them? And what are the things that they're not doing? What are they not thinking about? So the way that we think about it is kind of twofold. One is security and privacy. I would say that that's a pillar, and I actually don't think people think about it enough. I don't think security and privacy is really, really, really talked about. If you think about it, for example, like I talked with Mark the other day, and he was talking about how in his company they have a whole AI policy. They can't upload their information. They can't upload their deals because information asymmetry in deal making and investments is everything, right? And if you take a look at ChatGPT right now, because of all the copyright lawsuits, there's a hold in, I guess it's the Second Circuit in New York on everything that's being uploaded. So while they tell you like, oh, everything is private, we don't retain your data, it's you understand that that's not true. It's sitting in an escrow account. And so if what that means is that this will continue, there will be more lawsuits, there will be more government inquiries. We don't know about cybersecurity breaches. We don't know about what happens when some of this information accidentally leaks into the model. Can you ever clean it out? Where's it going to pop up? I've had instances, I don't know if any of you have, where I've used ChatGPT on something and all of a sudden it just started spitting out something in a foreign language or something about national security, right? Yeah, because you don't know where your stuff is going. So you don't know if you upload really, really sensitive information, you don't know where and who and how it's going to pop up again if there is a leak. And so I don't think people think about this enough. I think people have just become so trusting of cloud tools in general that they're not paying attention to the fact that generative AI is something totally different. It's not going to be this sort of, like it's decentralized, okay, it's a breach, some passwords got leaked, we can clean it up. This is a whole different animal because you can structure data instantly. So if I have all of Marty's information, deep thoughts, secrets, emotions that he's putting in,
Not many.
I can recreate everything in 1 second with the LLM in a way that you could never do before. So for us, data privacy, zero retention, making sure that data is truly not retained, right? Not if you look at the fine print, retained for 30 days, so that the FBI can check things or stuff like that, but like truly secure, that's a big part of it. So
let me ask you a question. So I have a technical background and I have a dozen websites, and my websites are all constantly being attacked. And I have protections against it, but they're constantly being attacked by people using like SQL commands, send me a text message box, right? I think it happens to everybody who's got that, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of weird commands are put in meant to get access to my server, right? But AI is a whole different model where somebody, if they were smart somehow, could figure out a way to hack my personal details, your personal details, as you were just saying, just by using language commands. I mean, that's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, they can and they will.
There's no security layer at all.
Security is not something that anyone is talking about. I go to so many conferences, I go to so many talks. I hear people talking about like, well, which LLM is going to be the big one, or is DeepSeek taking over, or is it really about SaaS tools on top, or is it about data centers? And I'm like, what about security, guys? Like, nobody's paying attention to this because the point is, again, when you had cloud tools for the last 20 years, we're all in cloud. Come on, we're all on social media, we're all on our phones, or what's that? Like, our data is leaked everywhere, but you could not aggregate it and structure it instantaneously the way that you now can with the LLMs. And so I would say that once one of these big breaches happen, and they will, people will start to pay attention and they'll look at things very, very differently. So that's a big thing that we think about that I think is not paid attention to enough. We do have zero data retention across all the tools that we use. We also use open weight models. So if people want to do on-prem, if people want to do, sort of more private stuff, it's not an issue. We have all of those things. The other big thing that we think about is really, it's about workflow. It's not about the LLMs. The LLMs are a tool. They'll keep improving, and like one will be the better one, and then tomorrow it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, right? The point is the workflow and how do you incorporate it? Because right now everything is a one-off. Right now everything is like, okay, upload your stuff, get the information, get the details, blah, 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 but it's not a flow. The closest thing you have to a flow is Copilot, and Copilot sucks. So that's how we think about things.
I just think about like AI and robotics is like Microsoft Windows. Like one day you're gonna have a robot who's like picking up a trunk for you, like it's gonna be like right over your head. And it's gonna be like one of those blue screens of death. It's gonna drop everything on top of it. I mean, it's like people don't, right? I mean, they expect it to be flawless. It's just terrible. I mean, all the software is written off the cuff, and then it's gonna make mistakes. It's gonna start talking to you in, some Slavic language.
Well, have you ever tried to get an LLM to do math?
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's the easiest.
Well, let's
You gotta
move over to
system-
Gladys and see what she has to say for where her business is and what she sees happening in 2026 with her company.
Oh my. I agree 1000% because we're dealing in our industry, we deal with the personal aspects of financial acquisition of a home and the process of that's in FinTech. Then you have construction, you have the property issues, and then you have the closing issues that a real estate broker has to deal with. I think that what we're seeing and what we're trying to do is we're having proprietary. We're interviewing the customer, and the AI is actually giving us information about the customer. So that feeds the search bot. And then we go and the idea is to show the property and you record the customer's reactions. This is about human emotion and reaction. That's the business of a real estate person. And if you don't think about it, you're all about the dollars per square foot and how many square feet you're going to buy and how big the house is and all that other stuff. At the end of the day, people make decisions emotionally. And what we're trying to do is to parse out, where does this customer sit? And so each customer gets an interview and then they go through the workflow, which you're talking about, which is basically the sequence between I want to see a house and I make an offer. There are a lot of steps that go into that. That's governed by realtors who may or may not know what they're doing. And we're trying to create an infrastructure that creates a methodology for going through that in a sequence that makes sense. We're right now testing. We're part of the the Hispanic Realtor Association. The Hispanic buyer skews younger and more tech savvy than the average mainstream buyer. So we're focusing on working with realtors that are working with those buyers and testing the tools to see how we can make it better. And right now we're in that iteration. Like, how can we make it bigger, better, faster? How can we help you make a decision faster? And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. I'm really excited to hear about your due diligence process because I think that translates into the real estate industry very easily. And I do have a friend who's doing cybersecurity. I'll introduce you to her.
Well, don't give up that microphone too quickly, Gladys.
Sorry.
It's all right. Well, I wanted to go back because you said something initially when you first introduced, and you're saying you're looking at people's body language. So it's not just the answers that they're giving; it's also you're reading the body language and putting that into your system.
Well, we have it's called the Savant series, and the Market Savant gives you a customizable market analysis. Like everybody and their brother gets a market study about the real estate market in New York, the real estate market in Chicago. There's a million different nuances and submarkets to every market. And so we're using Miami as our lab, which is really great. And the idea is there are a number of nuances to each of the zip codes that people buy in. So you can customize your market analysis to, I want to buy in 33134. I want to buy a 4-bedroom. I want it to be $1 million. And then the system gives you, there are 43 houses available in zip code 33134 that are for you. And here they are. So the idea is customizable to you, the customer, what you need, what you want, and how you can see it. So then we show them, when we go show a property, we record the activity, and that feeds the AI as to how the person is reacting, as you said, emotionally, to like, oh, wow, I love this kitchen. Oh, wow, I love the fireplace. The floors are terrible. You've heard it all, I'm sure. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to quantify qualitative experiences. And that is something that only AI can do. Right, Mr. Jerome?
Constantine, I'm going to toss it over to Constantine, let him go. And we'll do Enrique last year on this question. So just hang in there a minute, Enrique.
Well, obviously AI broadly defined, it has a huge potential. Like sometimes people say that AI is a lost invention by people, right? But we're not anywhere close to that. So what are we talking about? Using mostly some generative AI LLMs, but at the same time, there are a lot of new technologies emerging, both at the software level, conceptually new approaches to AI, of course, and on the hardware level. And I will mention on the software level just at least two. First of all, there is a more and more growing talk of small language models, which are pretty good in doing specific applications in narrowly defined industries. They don't consume not nearly as many resources. The inferences costs are much lower, and energy demands are much lower. So that's one branch, and they don't need this massive infrastructure. The second one is actually even more interesting. They called world models or 3D models. One of them being popularized and pioneered by Jan LeCun, who used to be very prominent machine learning / AI innovator, and he was the chief of AI at Facebook. He has left last month to start his own company where they will be moving in modeling interactions in the physical space based on, say, how it's perceived by a machine. So there's a lot of innovation happening conceptually, and there's a lot more to come. And then on the hardware side, our overall dependency on GPUs, obviously completely dominated by NVIDIA, is also potentially could be challenged by other emerging, not only new players, like not even talking about their tensor processing units that became very famous last week or so out of Google, but also we see a lot of completely new set of new technologies emerging that would be faster, cheaper, and some of these technologies are just being around for years and maybe even decades. To mention them a few, just you see this very conveniently written slide that depicts like GPUs is actually at the top of the stack. They're big, conventional, but very inefficient, even though flexible. And we are going down the road of potentially using analog processing units, and even more promising neuromorphic or neuron models, which combine in-memory calculation. So this would be far more efficient. They would be really good for in-edge AI calculations, like say, like your watch or even your cell phone would have true AI customized for you. So there is and I'm not even talking about the photonic quantum processing or ternary approaches. So there is a lot of exciting, truly mind-blowing opportunities and that are emerging, and the whole field of AI is just accelerating both in the hardware and software, and of course, as my esteemed panelists are talking about, the number of and depths of use cases.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. Enrique, I'm coming back to you now. Tell us where you're company is and what your key milestones that you hope to achieve over the next couple of years.
Sure, very specific. We just finished the testing phase. I have seen way too many companies that they try to be AI companies by just putting a command prompt, putting a nice user interface front end, and then calling themselves AI. All of them are going to be replaced because, if you think that LLMs or small or world models are going to continue improving, and that we are right now at the lowest that we can be, yeah, just putting a command prompt is not going to cut it. And we have seen already some of these big LLMs eat a lot of smaller companies from Silicon Valley, from New York, Chicago, you name it. So for us, it starts with learning phase. We have already finished all the learning phase, all the back tests as well, to make it statistical significant, all of our predictions, bringing in between 5 to 10 family offices, funds, private equity investors that then would like to join us as we launch a $25 million fund, that it will also be investing in our predictions, as well as ourselves. When we started then making predictions, I put a little bit of my own money into the predictions. So far, so good, 15% up. That's in about a week and a half, not bad. Then obviously keep making sure that we fully test throughout next year all the predictions that we're making. We're probably going to make around 50 to 100 predictions within the next 1 or 2 months for what's going to happen in M&A, especially in pharmaceutical next year. And then as long as all of them then prove relatively correct, then good. Then expand the industries and the geography. A lot of different companies are in pharma and biotech, South America, Europe as well, which brings a complete different sets of very interesting things of being able to go and have someone from Europe buy a company in the US or vice versa as well, because of the IP that they may have, that maybe companies over here, companies over there are not even aware that it's happening, maybe in clinical trials already or about to be approved by the FDA. So we are right now in that step of starting to talk to some investors, funds, family offices that would like to join us in this venture.
Fantastic. Constantine, I want to come back to you, and I want to drill down a little bit here. Particularly in the industry, inferences costs are dropping, while context windows and agent capabilities are expanding. Are you experiencing that in your business, and how's that affecting your business model moving forward?
Well, Mark, obviously, it's good for everyone. We firmly believe that at the end of the game, consumer will benefit the most. And that's was the history of innovation forever. At the end of the day, whatever Katya or Gladys develop, or I develop, it will Enrique, it will ultimately benefit the consumer the most, right? So we think there will be some very concentrated winners, not necessarily OpenAI, not necessarily NVIDIA, but it will be dispersed and some new winners will emerge. But the trend is actually logical. Eventually, AI models will be commoditized. Use cases should be more proprietary. So,
anybody else on the panel want to chime in?
Yeah, what I think about this is that the future, and we're seeing diminishing returns in big LLMs and investments in big LLMs, but the future is now, for the next probably 1 or 2 years, is how can then you can grab those big LLMs or even small LLMs or the world from Mr. Khan, or Dr. Khan, I should say, from X Meta, to then being able to apply to a specific case. And so I'm sure some of you that have used LLMs, OpenAI or Claude or Gemini, and actually full transparency, the director of AI for Google, Gemini, is one of our investors. So we have Gemini. But you have seen that as you keep typing and asking the AI, at some point, after long conversation, it starts forgetting or getting dumb from the conversation, and there's some of the results or advice or recommendations that gave you in the past. Well, AIs are to some extent kind of like us humans in the sense that you can, in your brain, cannot keep all the things, the very little details that have happened in the past, except, a lot faster. And so you start forgetting. And so being able to have then models and have different systems that can then be able to retrieve specific data that you need, have humans in the loop over there as well, to continue feeding in this feedback loop to the AI so that then you can get the best results. Those are going to be the companies that I believe are going to have the biggest returns within the next 2-3 years.
So you're saying AI has Alzheimer's?
Hey, I'm in pharma.
So basically, when you take a look at AI, there's a couple of different things that you have to think about, right? So you have retrieval augmented generation. And so even though you started to have these very large context windows and agentic AI, and people are like, oh, right, it's dead, et cetera, it's really not, because at the end of the day, you still need to be able to give very, very clear, very strong instructions to the language models in order to make sure that they're, doing what you need them to do, especially because of the fact that they're forgetful. The other issue is sort of the holistic analysis. So the problem is that if you're an attorney, right? I don't know if they're in the attorney team, but like when you take the LSAT, you have to do everything. It's all logical reasoning, right? So you have two types of reasoning. You have inductive reasoning, you have deductive reasoning. And then if you put them together, with some experience, you have what's called intuition. And so the thing is that when you do deductive reasoning, you see a pattern. You see a bunch of things, and then you're like, okay, and then I have to do something. The next step is going to be this. Inductive is much harder for the LLMs because then it's, well, what's missing? What did I not look at? Right. So the LLMs, like think about it. If you've ever used an LLM, you've ever given it instructions, the instructions that you didn't give it, right? It's not going to stop you and be like, hey, but did you think about this? It's just not. It might sometimes, but not consistently and not well. So part of the thing that our AI engineers really, really work on is that inductive portion. Is basically how do you implement kind of experience and expertise in knowing, hey, what's missing? What are the things that I should be looking at? Because in legal and due diligence, you have an issue whereby every document modifies the other document, right? We've created a really complex, horrible system. So if you have a shareholder agreement, you might have side letters, or you have bylaws, and the shareholder agreements may be under Delaware law, but the bylaws are, it's a Bermuda company, and all of a sudden Bermuda regulations are what holds in a special situation where, I don't know, you want to do an asset sell-off. And so when you use an LLM and the LLM just looks at things kind of very, very literally, it might miss that contextual analysis and that holistic analysis. And that's a big thing that we look at. So, comments?
Sounds
Context.
great.
Context. Yeah, context is key. Because if you're buying for example, I'm going to give it a real-time example. If you're buying a property on a 38th floor building in downtown Miami, and there's a raw piece of land adjacent to your property, you want to know what's going to be built there in the near future. So that's the context that when you're doing an acquisition, you're looking at everything that's around you. And one of the key components is that there are documents that are available publicly that we can go, an agentic AI can go look at, which is the planning board and the zoning board. It has that property been zoned? Has anyone applied for a permit, et cetera, et cetera? And you can predict basically that in the next 3 years, there's going to be a 50-story high rise, and your view is going to be challenged. There are many, many, many public resources that are available, at least in my industry, that I think that agentic AI can help us. What we're trying to create is a closed loop system that we can then add the data as we go along. And the agentic AIs are built for a very specific use case. And those are the things that are missing right now. I mean, the LLMs, you're right. It's kind of like, how do I do this? So I think that we're going to be seeing an evolution, and our team, and we have a terrific CTO in India. His name is Rajat Narang, and he has been using AI since 2016, and he's been creating consistent tools that actually build upon one another based on the client input at the beginning. So it builds upon itself. And I think that's one of the key components to success, which is you have a 360-degree view of your customer.
I want to go back to Constantine for a minute here. How can family offices balance the hype versus the reality when evaluating AI opportunities, especially given the pace of evolution within AI? Or maybe to ask it another way, what differentiates a potential unicorn from a short-lived feature or wrapper?
Um, it's a very difficult question. I don't have a clear answer for you, Mark. I apologize.
That's
So,
fair enough. But just give me
uh,
your
I can give
thoughts.
it unless Constance wants to continue.
You want to jump in, Katja?
I'll jump in.
Why not?
All right, so basically, look, this is just how I see it, it's my opinion. What do I know? With the LLMs, right? Everyone's like, don't invest in the wrappers, don't look at the wrappers, they're just wrappers, you're not gonna stay away, invest in the LLMs. Look at the valuation of the LLMs, right? The returns that you're gonna get at this point, if you got into OpenAI a few years ago, if you were one of the first employees or something like that, like more power to you. But at this point, the valuations are so extraordinarily high that the opportunities aren't there the way that they were a few years ago. So you have to take a look and figure out what other pockets there are. The way that I would recommend to do it is basically one of two ways. One is you don't need to be a deep tech expert. You need to be an expert in your vertical. So if you're an expert in pharma industry and healthcare, if you're an expert in real estate, you can take a look and you can basically look at these tools the way that you would look at any other software product that's trying to solve a problem in that market. You don't look at it from the perspective of like, oh, is the AI tech amazing? You look at it from the perspective of usage, mode, right? Practicality, all of these things, the way that you would look at anything else. You look at the vertical. Otherwise, you look at the deep tech, at which point, frankly, if you have a team that is incredibly deep tech savvy, then that's fantastic. Then I would say if you don't, it's better to go through investment professionals who actually really understand that market and really understand what's on the cutting edge and what's coming up next. So those are my comments. Anybody else?
Ditto.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on
Enrique?
agentic? I have a question about agentic AI. Just what are your thoughts about it? I mean, to me, AI is just a giant wave that Arun has already pointed out is just destroying value all over the place. Do you think agentic? I mean, to me, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, India is great," blah blah blah. To me, agentic AI is going to destroy two of the major cores of India's business, which is offshoring, like customer service, and coding software. Right? I mean, except for the very exceptional coders, right? The guys are just kind of like, blue collar coders. They're not really going to be doing that that great with agentic AI. I mean, I had a team of coders in India. I fired them all.
Me too.
Yeah, I just have generated.
Sorry, my head of HR is over there laughing.
I'm just saying. So, what are your thoughts about agentic AI? I see that big job destroyer.
Look, I mean, basically, what is agentic AI? Let's just start with that to make sure that everybody understands. It's basically AI that can follow some instructions. So rather than just giving you information, it can go like look something up. It can perform some sort of actions, right? Which is the logical next step. Do I think it's going to destroy a lot of things? Yeah. Like by the way, we've all been talking about LLMs up here. There's many other things. Like, I don't know if any of you live in Miami and you see the pizza robots, the delivery robots that go around, right? Yeah, but I love them. I ordered some food recently and the guy couldn't find my apartment and he didn't speak English. And I'm the only person who lives in Miami who doesn't speak Spanish. Right? And
My
so
husband doesn't.
we were yelling at each other, like on the phone, and I'm trying to look in like Google Translate how to talk to them. And then finally he disappeared. I had to cancel the order. The robot comes to where it's supposed to be. Okay, I go, I unlock it, I get my food. Right? Like think about like taxis, truckers. I mean, there's so many industries that are about to be completely destroyed by all of these new technologies. So, what's going to happen to all these people? I don't know.
Can I add one? I do want to give one example of the agentic AI. There's a family office out in Virginia that has built a full service customer service agentic AI, which you can pick out a service agent, it's video, that looks like any person you want to look like, speaks any language you want them to speak, has the intonation, like they can have a southern drawl or a New York accent or the old Philadelphia mainline accent. They can have any of those accents. And they answer every question. They got full access to all of the databases. Whereas if I'm dealing with a customer service agent in India, they're restricted on their access, right? So you're talking to like an agent who maybe they'll just say Katja and answer every question like Katja does, right? But not in Spanish. But you know, but you can get them to talk Spanish if you want, right?
My bot would speak in Spanish.
Right, so I'm just saying, I mean, so it's really powerful. I'm like, wow, that just chop off that business. Doesn't exist anymore.
So,
We have
Go.
a gentleman over here.
He has a comment.
Oh, thanks, Marty. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to give one example of how AI is kind of doing the opposite of what people thought. So people thought 5 years ago that radiologists were going to be unemployed and have no work to do, and the opposite happened. So as AI came in and medical images were more could be interpreted and screened through, and the kind of like easy work could be done by computers and AI and imaging software. The hiring of radiologists is now increasing over time because the type of things that they're finding in imaging requires that detailed expertise. So there are, yes, industries that are getting wiped out and customer service reps that are getting laid off and software engineers that are getting let go. And then there's other parts of the industry where the AI automation, the AI productivity improvements are actually driving hiring increases, which is, I think, interesting.
It's fascinating because healthcare is one of the places where you get the most oomph, but then you still need to find the budgeting. You find all these people are sick that you didn't know were sick. Now all of a sudden you've got millions and more people who are really have illnesses that have been diagnosed who weren't diagnosed before, and you've got to allocate capital to them.
So the demand for radiologists is increasing as the workload is moving to AI.
I think it may be that because right now there's a massive, I mean, and there's this famous graph that's been going around of the current jobs out there in coding and the collapse that there is right now with entry-level jobs, coding, computer engineers, and these are people that typically entry-level computer engineer, $125,000, $150,000. Those jobs are not there anymore. And so, but those people that have already 5, 10, 15 years of coding experience, then they have multiplied, right? The amount of money that then they can command, that they can say, no, I mean, you need to pay me more. I mean, so because they can do a lot more now, right? So I think that what we're going to start seeing, and what we're seeing right now, is this kind of two groups of people. The entry level have to find different ways of adding value, and those ones that are entry level or in the middle are completely disappearing, and the ones that have certain level of experience for that specific job then are going to become super powerful. When it comes to pharma medical, it may be the same thing with radiologists. I mean, I do think at some point, AI, and I'm going to expand a little bit your definition. What is really AI, at least for me, is not only just a software that follows a set of instructions, which can potentially be a bot, but also that can provide recommendations. And so in that definition, then I want my software, I want my, whatever we're building over here, Emergent, which is the name of the company, to then not only tell me, listen, I mean, yes, there's this 10 companies that are looking, overlapping in the same ecosphere in the radar for M&As next year, but what would you like? Would you like me to analyze that deal a bit more? Do you want me to ask me for recommendations, or do you want me to do some kind of potential overlaps of acquirers between this one and this one, right? So that to me is more interesting than just give me an answer. When it comes to what we're seeing, yeah, well, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I got asked to go to Washington, D.C. and speak of, what is what I'm seeing with AI. And I told at that time that I'm seeing this big two tsunamis coming. One is the financial crypto tsunami, disrupting the financial industry. And then the other one is AI disrupting the labor industry. Where this all is going to end up, I try to be a little bit more of a glasses half full, or always completely full, because there's always some liquid or some fluid, I should say, it can be gas as well, in that cup, in the sense that, yeah, there will be people disrupted in a lot faster way than any technology before, but if you start right now learning, finding ways to enable your work and to enable you with AI, then you're in a much better position. Why? Because there are tons of enterprises and companies that will find out very soon that all the hype with AI is not matching with kind of how they want to bring AI to their company, but they need those people that can tell them, this is how I think. Then we can add value to you with marketing and AI, or with sales and AI, or with business development and AI, right? So being able to be that specific to big enterprises right now, it's completely open.
I think we have a
Go ahead.
questions over here.
A quick question for Gladys and the panel. Like when you're looking at all this data and you're developing, agents or whatever, one of the big challenges with AI is hallucination, and it can't do multi-threading. It might take a data from one document, apply to another document. And I don't know when that gets fixed, but how do you develop a product knowing that it's not a 5-9 reliable thing, and you're trying to do something in the real world that's 5-9 reliable, and technology is going to hallucinate?
Did you want to answer, or you want me to?
Humans. We have never discounted the fact that there has to be a human. What you just
Humans never make mistakes.
no, we're absolutely perfect. But the idea is that if you are a professional in your field, like he was talking about, the radiologist, think about the radiologist has gone through 7 years, 8 years of training. He's done, numbers of surgeries and whatnot. He has a sort of body of knowledge. Like you said, inductive, deductive, and intuitive. Like you actually have an intuition about what should I look at here. The AI gives you information. It pulls data from sources that are available. When I read a document from the planning department, I look at like, what are the approvals? What are the questions? What are the issues? It's very, very easy to parse. But my interpretation of when is this thing going to get approved and how is this going to get built, that is something that experience teaches you. And I think that the person who learns AI and makes it part of their job and to use the tools to make themselves better, you're going to be priceless. That's what I think. I agree with you.
Well, I want to pick up on this if I can, because there was a related question online that I thought was very interesting. And Katja, it was aimed at you. And it says, when a human and generative AI are working together as a team, where does the fiduciary duty ultimately reside?
The human. So basically, just to go on, I agree with everything that Gladys said, and I'm just going to talk about it very specifically from my business, right? So there's kind of several things. So first of all, just very specifically, right, in our tool, first of all, we have references for everything. So everything you click on it, you get the reference, you see the document on the screen, you can just see it, it's all highlighted. So you can double check everything. The second thing is that we have several modes. So one is more sort of exploratory mode, which is going to be more like a ChatGPT to look things up on the internet for you, etc. The other one is a very, very strict mode where we put very strict guardrails, where our tool is instructed only to look at the materials you have provided. So that way you can't ask it to, like, I don't know, write me a poem in the style of Shakespeare about M&A or something like that. It's only going to look at what you're telling it to look at, but it's going to be a very controlled environment. So that's how we just legitimately just address the hallucination issue. Then there's the human in the loop issue, and then there's fiduciary duties, which is what you're talking about. So in legal, right, like non-lawyers can't practice law in the United States and in many other places. They can't even own equity in a law firm except for a few spots. So you need to have a human in the loop. And the reason that we even engage big law firms at the end of the day, if you're working in like private equity, et cetera, is it's your insurance policy, right? You want to say like, well, cool, he screwed up. It's not my problem. So, right? Like that's what we pay them for. We don't pay them because the 27-year-old, junior associates who just graduated law school are not making mistakes. Like, come on. And so the thing is that ultimately you want generative AI to speed everything up. You want it to bring the cost down. You want to make things more efficient. You want to have more control and more transparency into your documents. But it's not going to ultimately replace that need for that insurance policy.
I see Marty is taking the podium, which usually is my signal. The cane's out and we're being hooked. So one final question.
Well, let's just ask for, John, I'm not gonna do this to you twice, so please ask the question.
No, I was just gonna say that people are forgetting about Geiger, garbage in, garbage out.
Mhm.
I did a search, a fairly detailed, ChatGPT, and I used Claude, and I used Perplexity. All of them didn't address the totality of what I was looking for. It was a question about a medical treatment. I'm a doctor. I have experience in pharmacology. The answers were absolutely down the path orthodox. They had no reference to controversy, to alternative explanations, alternative treatments. It was totally down the AMA, orthodoxy. So it didn't give you totality of the information that you really needed to make, the decision you needed to make, knowing about contrary opinion, alternative data, and developing data. It was very, very disappointing. And all of them suffered from it. So the question then arises, there's a group now of doctors trying to put together a certain thing of AI alternative, where all of these issues can arise and be presented, and then, of course, the reader would have to make their own decision. But I don't know who's controlling the limits by which most of these generative, AI platforms are giving their data.
So I think that's why we go into specific verticals, right? Rather than the LLMs. That's exactly why all three of us are here. And actually, number 4, Constantine over there. Wave, Constantine.
Say hi,
Say
Constantine.
hi. There we go.
There.
So that's the thing. We're all focused on very, very specific verticals and feeding that with our data specifically because of that issue.
I'll say this. It was the latest Grok, the one that ends with a K, not with a Q. Proved to be a little bit better than ChatGPT, the latest one, which is 5, because of that same thing. It's not now we are starting to realize, although a lot of us already knew for some time, that it's not about just throwing more GPUs into this, new technology. It's also about, hey, can you then have that initial data that you train, and all of these LLMs are trained a specific set of data up until a certain point. And you can ask until when are you trained, right? And so in order to avoid some of the gaps is that then they have connections now to real access to data in the web. But getting better data to train these LLMs is a lot better than having to buy more GPUs to then get a much bigger LLM of 30 gagillions of data points that they're not using. So to your point, and to exactly follow what Kate was saying, specific models for that specific problems are right now the way to go.
Fantastic. I think that's the end. Thanks, guys.
All right, great job. Thank you.
Great job.
Trust, I think,
Thanks.
is very important for the information out, and it's going to really drive how successful these models are. And I think that's where these verticals that they're developing makes a lot of sense. So thank you to everybody. Thank our panelists for great commentary and insights. We'll see you in a month or so. Thanks, Marty.
We'll see you in San Francisco, guys. Thanks so much. Cheers. What's that? Oh, yeah, sweet.